Alright, we got the studs all in there. So that one had to change that. It went in there now fairly tight, but not as bad as that first one was. So now I got to take the case apart, put some paint on these studs so they don't rust, and then put it all back together with goop on it, put it together for real. So, take off our hardware here. Excuse me. Okay. Bench is clean. All these parts are clean already, so you want to keep them that way, because the bearing's going to go everywhere when you pull this off. Tight fit again. Bearings everywhere. There's some more to mix with those. Okay. It's the reason why they call it a loose bearing lower end. Got loose bearings everywhere. Find them now. They appear to be all over the place. Long ones and short ones. Left side are short, right side are long. Okay, there you go. There's your right side bearings. And your two sets of left side. I'm going to clean those one more time before these go together, just in case they got any dirt residue on them. We'll blow these cases out one more time also. Clean, just give it a quick blow job, make sure it's clean. If I keep towel over everything, it should be clean, but it's been open for a while, so just double check everything. Okay, so I want to paint these here, and I want to paint the tops of these studs here also, and these studs back here. That way they don't rust. The left side, we just got two tops right there. The washer. Alright, so it's 64 in here, so paint don't stick very good when it's 64 degrees, remember that. So we gotta do something about that. We use silver paint. It looks closer to the CAD plating than dull aluminum does. I'm going to use that. Okay, so this here should be relatively clean over here. Just to make sure we're going to wipe it down. Get the dirt off. Clean the rag. Okay. Clean table means you put clean parts on a clean table. And clean parts don't get dirty. Clean parts on a dirty table means dirty parts. Remember that. Okay, so we need to get this warmed up. If you had a hot plate, you can use a hot plate. Somewhere I got a hot plate, I don't know where. But I do have a torch. This can's cold. This here is hot once flame comes out of it. On low flame. Very low flame. See, there's much trail back here. See my hands are right here. 6 inches away, I'm not getting burned. See, it's low flame. Take your can, go back and forth with a little bit on the bottom, not too much, and shake it up. Pull the lid off. Squeeze these two lids right here. And the flame keeps going up on the camera, have you noticed? You can feel the can's cold. Just give it a little light. If you think you're putting too much heat into it, right after you heat it up, touch with your hand. You'll see how much heat you're really putting in the can. If you burn your fingers touching it, you got too much heat you're putting in the can. This is just a plastic on here. It should burn right off if you get too much heat on it. If you have a hot plate, you can lay this right on the hot plate, but don't get it too hot. You're going to looking for about 100 to 125 degrees is all you're really looking for here. Just so you got some warmth to the can. Even if it's only 80, 90 degrees, that's enough. Now if you get it too hot, you put a hole in it and cause a big fire. Don't do that. You notice I keep putting my finger in the flame, it's not really hurting me. Same thing, you put your finger in the flame short term, but you can't leave it there. If you leave it there, it's going to burn the piss out of you. So. Same deal in the can. Except the can will take more heat than your finger will. This also shakes the paint up in there at the same time, which is a good thing. Flame's going down because every time I shake it, it changes. There you go. Got a piece of shit in my tip there. Okay, this is up to almost body temperature now. Paint likes to be an 80, 90 degree temperature real easy. Okay, now we got to put a little heat down here on the studs. I'll turn this up a little bit. A little bit of heat in the case too, not a lot. I'm trying to burn anything off the stud. Any residue cleaning material, it burns it off. You put heat directly on it. Tip off. Put something in there. contaminated. Whew. That was too hot, burning me. That's good. Okay, that's enough heat. I'm not trying to make a ton of heat, just a little bit. Always burn my torches out. Means I turn the bottles off while it's running. Dump all the air out of it. Makes the regulators live longer when you do that. Okay, now we just put a little paint on these things. Now if you paint inside, the fumes are inside. If you paint outside, the fumes are outside. I'm going to paint outside. Cold out there too, but oh well. So it's not very hard doing painting, just don't paint the aluminum, paint the steel. Okay, a little bit of paint that you did get on the case. Shouldn't be very much. You just come across like this and wipe it off. You see I still got all the machine marks, you can see them, so there's not much paint. You see a little bit of a fog of paint over here. Don't get too carried away. If there's too much buildup, you can scrape it off later. Alright, so now the studs are painted. We'll let that dry a little bit. The heat will make it dry a little quicker. And there you go. So now they won't rust. At least not for a little while. If you're careful with the paint, you don't get it where you don't want it. If you get too much on the aluminum, you can take it off with a little bit of cleaner real quick. The key is when you spray it, you spray high coming down, you can get the pattern right where you want it. And this one here looks like it didn't get too much paint down below. But it doesn't really matter. The top of the stud is what you see, not the bottom in here. So you don't have to paint it all the way to the base if you don't want, you don't have to. It's more about the tip and the top 1/4 inch, what's going to be exposed at most. So that's all that matters. You don't have to paint it all the way to the bottom of the case. These are down here, you're going to get some on the case because you don't have access to do them correctly. Doesn't mean you don't try to keep it off the case though, because you're going to get some on there. So I sprayed it pretty good right through here, which I knew that was going to happen. Looks like most everything else I kept off. You can see the tops of the studs are painted, and the sides and everything are painted too. So you just got to be careful. And these ones over here, we just got to get the tips. That's all that really matters. So you start high and come down. There you go. So Stud's got paint on the top, but not much else. This one needs a little bit more on the bottom. Yeah, pretty good. There we go. When you put the cover on there, it's going to knock it down a little bit anyway. It's just starting to rain out there, so it's perfect time to paint. See the rain residue there? It's starting to get wet out here. And it's supposed to rain for 2 days. It's the first time it's really raining. Alright. So now you just kind of let this stuff dry a little bit. Get that out of the way. Get the studs so they don't hit each other. So you see how the tips of the studs are painted, but we didn't really do much on the side, and there's nothing on the cases. So those are done, these are done, and the 2 dowel pins are done. These are all done over here. So that's all the important stuff they need to get done. You can see the good cam cut there now, get everything out of the way. Make room for a cam. Breather hole's good. So all our pre-fitting is pretty well done. The oil pump should be pretty good. I can't do the final on this until I get the pinion gear in here, which I can't put on until the crank goes together. So, but there shouldn't be any more machining done on the cover here, or the cam cover, which is over here. This should be good. Now this I didn't clean it, I left it the way it was, so if he wants to polish it, he can polish it by hand. If I blasted the cover, it's going to be like the color of the case, which would be a lot duller looking, so we're going to leave the original finish on that, and not change it. Okay, now before these go together, I like to get the drain plugs in here. Make sure these holes are still good. Looks like they got threads in them, so and definitely timing plugs got to be good. You don't want to have to come back and helicoil anything when you're done. Okay, I got these set up. I'm going to use this whole kit, just the nuts, and it looks like we do not have the plug for down here, so I got to come up with that. Let's see, this here is an adjuster. It needs to be painted, so we'll paint that. Okay, I did bring a bunch of chrome hardware. Here's some more nuts. There's generator screws, depending on what kind of generator he's got. Timing hole plug, small diameter. These are the top screws for up here and right here. Distributor. There's the big timing hole plug. What was the other one at? What happened to the other one? Let's figure it out here, I thought. Oh, there it is. So the small plug, see, it's 3/4 inch hex. The big one's 7/8. So the early one is the big one. The late one is this one. Now this one says it's oversized. So that means the threads are oversized. So I can't even use that one anyway. The big 3/4 one is the early bike, which is what should be on there. They look better than the little dinky ones, I think. But some people like it the other way. That's why we do different things. There's the case drain plug. Right down there. That's going to be in chrome. There's some cylinder base nuts if he wants to put some nuts on the top. And that's all leftover stuff we didn't use from before. Yep, those are all extra parts. Okay. So, and this is his old rod bearings we didn't use. They're too small. Alright, so I got a lot of different stuff here to know what he wants to do. I'm going to put some paint on this, and I think this is the last part that's exposed. Now, there's a couple washers I want with this. They're right here. So this is for the adjustable chain oiler. Goes on the side of the oil pump. So I don't know if he's using that or not. If he's going to use a primary chain, this is pre-adjusted right here to do it. So if he doesn't use a primary chain, it doesn't do that. So on the side of the pump down here, there's a hole, and it controls how much oil goes into the oil gallery, which controls how much feed you get over to your pump. So I'm going to go ahead and put some paint on that so it doesn't get damaged. And we'll match the pump. And if you go to like a belt drive on this, you want to shut the flow off, so then you bottom this taper out. So you take all these washers out. Ideally, you got a different screw that's longer, and you put a jam nut in here, and you can jam a nut in there and tighten it up. Bottom it and jam it with a nut. This one, if you just bottom out the taper, it can unscrew on you, because it's not made to be shorter. It's made to be bottom out against the head, not have a jam nut on it. So a little bit different how they do things. Okay, so I'm going to put a little paint on this. The paint has still got a little heat to it, so it should be all right. Oh, with the washers. I'll go ahead and put a little paint on everything at once. There you go, everything's painted, including my fingertips, but not much on my fingers because I know how to hold it. Now this will just stuff into a box so it can dry. Which is right here. As long as you don't touch it, you should be okay. Obviously I touched it a little bit, but not much. A little bit of paint on my tips, but that was it, not much. Okay, we'll be back, let all this stuff dry a little bit.